Ready when you are. Alright. Hello, today I'll be telling you all about the father of Mickey Mouse, the most famed Imagineer. Not like the character Mickey Mouse's dad, but like the guy who created him. Now, who was this guy? I turn that question to you. Can anyone in here tell me who created Mickey Mouse? Sadie?
Walt?
That's right, he was of Iwerks. Good job. Yeah, not Walt Disney like everyone thinks. Because while, Walt Disney was obviously the head of Walt Disney Studios, of Iwerks was the guy who first drew Mickey Mouse, the guy who first animated him. He was truly a wonder. He was very creative, he was very technologically savvy, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go back a little bit. Who was Ub Iwerks? Or Ub Iwerks, Ub Iwerks? No one can agree. Born in March 24th, 1901 to Dutch immigrants in Kansas City, not Kansas. Not much is known about Ub Iwerks' first 18 years of life or so. Not much is known about him as a child, which makes it really fun to write a speech on him. Boy, let me tell you. But of course, when he did turn 18, that's when we start learning about him, because that is the day Ub Iwerks met one Walt Disney, and they started working together. They never really got along personally. They definitely had a strictly working relationship. Some people even say they may have hated each other when they weren't working. They started mostly making ads for the Kansas City Ad Company, until one day, Walt Disney, as you may or may not know, started a studio of his very own, with our main character, Ub Iwerks, joining him about a year later. The two of them worked together pretty well. And of course, when they started making these cartoons, they made that little rodent on two legs everyone knows, everyone loves. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. I swear we're going to get to Mickey in a second, just give me a second. So, obviously Mickey Mouse wasn't Walt Disney's first creation. His first one that really took off was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Until one day, Universal Studios, the guys who were funding Walt Disney Studios at the time, grabbed the rights to Oswald, took off without him, and took many of Walt Disney's greatest workers with him, leaving basically just Walt Disney, Ub Iwerks, and a couple of other randos whose names have been lost to time to work for Walt Disney. But so, now that they lost the rights to their most popular character, Ub Iwerks and Walt Disney went back to the drawing board, and they made one, finally, Mickey Mouse. And that's how he was created. And so, they then spent the next few years making these cartoons. Ub Iwerks, obviously, is the one who did most of the animating for some of the early Mickey cartoons. So for some of the early Mickey cartoons, he even did all of the animating, which was absolutely impressive, which we'll get to in a second. But then eventually, Ub Iwerks did that one thing that that at least one member of any great duo has to do at some point or another. And he tried to start his own solo career, which, as everyone knows, always goes well. He made Flip the Frog, Willy Whopper, two of the most popular characters in human history. I'm sure you all knew of them before I mentioned them just now. And Ub Iwerks Studios continues to be the greatest company in human history. I'm just kidding, it shut down 10 years later. And Ub Iwerks went back to Walt Disney Studios soon after. His own studio didn't do so well. Now, right off the top, obviously, most of you kind of thought Walt Disney created Mickey Mouse, but why is that? Well, Ub Iwerks hasn't been given his due credit for creating Mickey Mouse over the years. First reason is a simple misconception. Obviously, the most popular character by Walt Disney Studios. Who would you think made him? Walt Disney. Another reason being branding. Because over the years, obviously, modern Disney Studios has always kind of tried to build this bond between Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse. Though Walt did obviously voice Mickey Mouse for his first few years of existence. after trying his own solo career, he went back to Disney Studios where he worked for the rest of his life, animating away. He worked on some movies I'm sure most of you have seen, Sleeping Beauty, Lady and the Tramp, Peter Pan, and many others I could never begin to name. Now, we've been talking about this guy this whole time. What made him so great? Why are we talking about him? Well, one of the reasons that I find most interesting is that he could animate hundreds of frames per day. For those who don't know what that means, every single time a cartoon character moves, an animator has to draw them all over again. And iWorks could do that hundreds of times per day. I can barely do 10, and I've been animating for like a couple of years. On top of that, he was also a technological genius. Always knew how to use the equipment he was given. Even improving on some of them with, double check her name real quick, Nancy Gondo in particular, talking about the multi-head optical lens. Now, for those who don't know what that gibberish means, basically, it allowed them to combine live action and animation a little easier, which is what let them make things like Mary Poppins, The Three Caballeros, most famously Roger Rabbit, when you have cartoons and characters in the same place. But, as Britannica goes out of their way to mention, one of my favorite inventions of his, and one that he didn't just improve on, but pretty much made himself, the multi-plane camera, which is what allows for backgrounds in cartoons. Before this, backgrounds had to be drawn over and over. Every time a character moved a little bit, they'd have to draw the character again, and then they'd have to draw the whole background again. But with the multi-plane camera, they could just draw the character, and then they could have the background on a different frame so that they didn't have to do that over and over again. Now, like I said, he's a technological wonder, which led to this big race for every company trying to be better than Walt Disney. A race that basically continues today. With everyone, everyone wants to have the best special effects, everyone wants to look the coolest, that everyone's trying to push ahead of each other. That race was basically started by iWorks. You like modern movies? You like any of these? Especially, does anyone like Avatar? Okay, well, it's one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and I've never met anyone who actually enjoys it, but that's off topic. Part of the reason special effects have been pushed so far is because everyone wants to look better than each other, which all started with everyone trying to be better than iWorks. And that's just about the end of it. iWorks was truly fantastic in my opinion. He created Mickey Mouse, he was a great animator, great inventor, and one of the most influential figures in all of animation, but he's not given his due credit most of the time, which I find to be kind of disappointing, with people thinking Walt made Mickey Mouse, or iWorks just kind of not getting talked about all that often, because he was so necessary to the whole process. Like Mackenzie Martin said in one of her works, behind every powerful mouse, there might be a Walt Disney, but behind every Walt Disney, there's at least one of iWorks. Thank you.